Audiobooks 101, Part 1. Welcome to the Jungle. With a recording hiatus and questions on the rise, Jesse has asked me to write a series of guest posts on audiobook production, providing a basic survey of the topic for writers and those thinking of narrating audiobooks. Here are a few bona fides so you know how many salt grains to take with this advice. My name is Jim Foster. I began a VO business as a side gig in 2016. I've recorded a handful of audiobooks, stepped away to focus on short form work as a faster way to make money, but have recently added book narration back to my portfolio because, well, I love it, even if the revenues build more slowly than other work. I recently finished narrating the book Roughing It by Mark Twain, and another accessible example of my work is as the voice of the Motivedia boxing channel. Links are both below. In my day job, among other things, I narrate training videos. In summary, I'm a very small fish in a really big pond, but I've been swimming here for a few years short of a decade. Please do not take my info as final or comprehensive. Instead, consider this a signpost pointing you further up and deeper in. Audiobooks are big business and an increasing percentage of total book revenue. Publishers Weekly reports that audiobooks generated $2 billion in revenues in 2024. Sales grew 9% this year and are growing in popularity with all segments, especially kids. Consider that Larry and Steve talked about the need to write with audiobooks in mind in an episode back in January of 2022. And on Larry's last book post announcement, did you notice the eagerness for the audio version? Many people prefer audio as their primary way to consume books, fiction in particular. Finally, Amazon, aka Audible, is commissioning audio-only fiction, with print to come later, if at all. Yet another potential market. As with many things, from a distance, the process looks simple. A rights holder contracts with a producer to create an audiobook version of a print book. The producer records, edits, and masters the audio to the standards of the syndication services. The book is uploaded to syndication services like Audible or Spotify, and somebody somewhere gets paid. Let's lay some groundwork with a few helpful definitions. Rights holder. The entity that owns the legal right to produce an audiobook. This might be the author, but is more than likely the publisher. If authors self-publish, they have all the rights. If a book is handled by a publisher, including short stories and anthologies, it's likely they have the audiobook production rights also. If you are contracting with a publisher, pay attention to these rights too. Producer, the entity that turns a book into audio and releases it to distribution. For big books from big publishers, this is likely a production company with the creation divided between a project manager, narrator, audio engineer, proofer, and mastering engineer. For a huge number of audiobooks, however, the producer is often just the narrator, who may wear all those hats, or subcontract services as they need. Distributor or syndicator, the companies that sell the audiobooks to consumers. The big dogs in the room are Amazon Audible and new contender Spotify, who are trying to displace Audible. There are many others, and audiobooks can even be checked out from local libraries. Per finished hour, or PFH, how money is applied to audiobook production. Narrator pay and Audible pricing is set by the number of hours the book will take to listen through. On average, this is about 9,300 words an hour. Audible keeps it simpler by assuming 10,000 words per hour. Also note that it can take 4 or so hours of production time to produce a finished hour. Royalty share. A production agreement that the producer will be paid nothing by the rights holder, but will share in a percentage of audiobook sales. This is almost exclusively the realm of independent rights holders and up-and-coming narrators. Royalty share plus, or hybrid. The producer shares in revenues, as above, but the narrator is additionally paid a small amount, $100 to $200 per finished hour, to cover production costs. Buyout. Producer is paid a set fee per finished hour and gets no royalties. Typically, this runs between $200 to $500 a finished hour on ACX, or higher sometimes, but that's the realm of big-name publishers and big-name narrators. Audiobook production platforms. ACX. ACX is owned by Audible, owned in turn by Amazon. The Big A created ACX to keep content flowing into Audible. Anybody can sign up to use ACX for free: narrators, rights holders, audio engineers. How ACX makes their money is Audible sets book prices, they keep 60% of the revenue, and the other 40% goes either to the rights holder or split between the rights holder and the narrator. Rights holders get even less, 25%, I believe, if they choose not to keep an audiobook exclusively on Audible. Findaway Voices, owned by Spotify. It used to be a jobs exchange like ACX, but is now only a distribution service for rights holders with finished audio. Rather appealingly, the rights holder gets to set prices, and the rights holder keeps 80% of the revenue, with Spotify taking 20% of whatever Spotify gets from the services they are publishing to. The sales split on Spotify proper is a generous 50%. They distribute non exclusively to Spotify and 20 or more, the list changes now and again, services, including Audible and Amazon. They have generated controversy earlier this year when they changed their terms of service in ways that hurt narrators and authors. Going into that is beyond the scope of this article, but know that the outrage forced Findaway Spotify to go back to normal. But again, do your research. There is another platform that I know of, but not much about, Authors Republic. They have an exchange, but their narrator roster is closed, so I've not paid much attention to them. From what I understand, they distribute via Findaway and an equal number of other platforms directly. If anyone has had any experience here, please let me know. The field is changing all the time, and I want to keep informed too. I have heard of many others, but don't know much about them. Do your research. At the end of the day, consider that customers are going to look for audio where they're already getting it. Audible, Spotify, and Apple Books are household names in North America and quite a few global markets. However, you might choose to distribute, go where the customers are. Okay, that's a fair download, and I hope it sets the stage well for future installments. Next time, we'll talk about becoming a narrator. Contact me at jimfostervo@gmail.com with questions you have, or if I've missed something or made a mistake. Until then, keep your voice healthy and check your levels.